You know the feeling. The mind that will not settle. Thoughts arriving one after another, each one pulling at your attention. A worry about tomorrow. A conversation from yesterday. A task you forgot. A feeling you cannot name. They come in waves, and underneath it all, a low hum of restlessness, as if the mind is searching for something it cannot find. This is not a failure. This is not a problem you created. This is simply what an untrained mind does. It moves. It reaches. It tries to solve, to plan, to remember, to protect. And in all that movement there is very little rest. The Buddha spoke of this often. He called it the wandering mind, the monkey mind, the mind that leaps from branch to branch. He did not say it was bad, he said it was untrained. And what is untrained can be trained, not through force, not through willpower, but through patient, gentle attention. Think of a river. When the current is strong, the water churns. Sediment rises. Leaves and debris swirl on the surface. You cannot see the bottom. You cannot see through the water at all. This is the restless mind, clouded, moving fast, pulled by forces it does not understand. Mindfulness does not stop the river. It does not dam the current or freeze the water in place. Instead, it allows the river to slow, gradually, naturally. As the current eases, the sediment begins to settle. The debris drifts to the edges, and slowly the water clears. You begin with the breath, not because the breath is special, but because it is always here. It does not require thought. It does not require belief. It simply is. Breathing in, you notice the sensation of air entering. Breathing out, you notice the release. You do not control it. You do not improve it. You simply feel it. And when the mind wanders, as it will, you notice that too. A thought arises. You see it. You do not push it away. You do not follow it into the next thought and the next. You simply recognize thinking. And you return to the breath. This is the training. Not once, not 10 times, 1,000 times, 10,000 times. Each time you notice the mind has wandered and you bring it back, you are strengthening something. Not control, not suppression, but awareness. The capacity to see what is happening as it happens. The restless mind believes it must keep moving to survive. It believes that if it stops scanning, planning, rehearsing, something will go wrong. This belief is old. It comes from a part of us that once needed constant vigilance to stay safe. But most of the time, in this moment, right now, there is no danger. There is just the breath, the body sitting or lying down, the sounds in the room. When you bring attention to the body, you begin to notice tension, the shoulders drawn up, the jaw clenched, the belly tight. You do not force these places to relax. You simply bring a soft attention to them. You breathe into them, and sometimes, without effort, they begin to soften. The river begins to slow. You might notice the quality of hearing. Sounds arise, a hum of traffic, a bird, the creak of a building. These sounds come and go on their own. You do not have to do anything with them. They appear in awareness and they fade. This is how all experience moves, arising, passing, arising again. The restless mind tries to hold on. It tries to make sense of everything, to file it, to fix it. But when you rest in simple awareness, you see that most things do not need to be held. They come, they go. The mind can let them pass, the way the river lets water flow. This is not emptiness, this is not detachment, this is presence. Being here, with what is, without needing it to be different. You do not need to be good at this. You do not need to achieve a special state. The practice is simply this, noticing when the mind has wandered and gently, without judgment, bringing it back. Again and again. Each return is the practice. Each moment of noticing is a moment of freedom. The river clears not because you demand it, but because you stop stirring the water. You sit at the edge, you watch, you breathe, and gradually the current finds its own stillness. So we begin here, with the breath, with the body, with this moment exactly as it is. You sit down to rest, and the mind does not rest with you. It reaches back towards something you said earlier, then forward to what you need to do later, then sideways to a sound in the next room, then inward to a tightness in your chest, then outward again to a memory you had forgotten until just now. You did not tell it to move, it simply moves. This is not a problem you created. This is the nature of the untrained mind. The Buddha once said the mind is like a wild horse. Untrained, it runs wherever it pleases. It does not ask permission. It does not wait for direction. It bolts. And because you are inside this movement, it is easy to believe the movement is you, that the jumping is your personality, that the restlessness is your fault. But watch a flag in the wind. It whips left, then right. It snaps upward, then falls slack. It never settles. Not because the flag has decided to be restless, but because the wind moved through it. The mind is like this. Thoughts arise because conditions arise. A sound triggers a memory triggers a feeling triggers a plan. The plan triggers doubt. The doubt triggers another thought. And the flag keeps whipping. You are not the wind. You are not the whipping. You are the one noticing. When you begin to practice mindfulness, you do not stop the mind from moving. You simply see that it moves. You watch one thought give way to the next. You notice the moment when attention jumps without your consent. You feel the pull toward distraction, and instead of following it blindly, you name it. Restless, jumping, moving again. This naming is not a judgment, it is a recognition. The wild horse does not become tame through force. It becomes tame through patient presence. You do not grab the reins and yank. You stand near the horse. You let it see you. You let it feel that you are not a threat. And slowly, over time, it begins to settle. The mind is the same. When you notice it jumping, you do not scold it. You do not try to pin it down. You simply see it clearly. Oh, there it goes again, jumping from this thought to that thought, moving without pause. And in that seeing, something shifts. The movement does not own you anymore. You are not tangled inside it. You are watching it happen, the way you might watch leaves skitter across pavement. The leaves move. The wind moves them, but you are still. This is the beginning of stability. Not because the mind has stopped moving, but because you have stopped mistaking the movement for yourself. Today, just once, notice the jump. You are reading something and suddenly you are thinking about dinner. You are listening to someone and suddenly you are planning your response. You are walking and suddenly you are elsewhere entirely. Do not try to stop it. Do not criticize yourself for wandering. Just notice the moment it happens. The exact instant when attention leaves one thing and lands on another. That noticing is mindfulness. That small gap of awareness is where the training begins. The flag will keep moving in the wind, but you do not have to move with it. You can stand still and watch. You can see the pattern without being swept into it. Restlessness is not a flaw. It is a condition. It arises, it passes, and you, quietly, can learn to see it for what it is. You sit down to meditate, and almost immediately the thoughts begin. What you need to buy tomorrow, a conversation from 3 days ago, a worry about next week. You came here to find stillness, but the mind will not cooperate. So you try to stop the thoughts, you push them away, you tell yourself to focus. But the harder you push, the louder they become. The effort to quiet the mind only makes it more restless. You end the session feeling like you failed at something you were supposed to be good at. This struggle is not a personal failing. It is what happens when we misunderstand what the mind does. Thoughts arise. That is their nature. Trying to stop them is like trying to stop clouds from forming in the sky. There is a teaching from the Zen tradition that offers a different way of seeing. Thoughts come and go like clouds. You are the sky, not the clouds. The sky. The sky does not push clouds away. It does not cling to the beautiful ones or reject the dark ones. It simply allows them to move through. They appear, they drift, they dissolve. The sky remains open, unchanged. When you sit in meditation, you are not trying to empty the sky. You are learning to rest as the sky itself. Picture it for a moment. A wide, open sky on a day when clouds are passing through. Some are small and wispy, some are dense and slow-moving. They do not ask permission. They do not apologize for appearing. They simply move according to conditions, wind, temperature, moisture. And then they are gone. Your thoughts are like this. They arise because conditions are present. A memory, a sensation, a sound, a feeling. The mind makes a thought. That is what it does. But you do not have to become the thought. You do not have to follow it across the sky. You can notice it. You can let it pass. This is what mindfulness offers. Not control, not emptiness, just the capacity to see thoughts as events in awareness rather than commands you must obey. Here is a small practice you can try. Sit comfortably. Set a timer for 3 minutes. Close your eyes or lower your gaze. Bring your attention to your breath, not forcing it, just noticing it. The air moving in, the air moving out. A thought will come. It always does. When it arrives, do not fight it. Do not follow it. Simply notice that it is there. You might say silently, thinking. Then return your attention to the breath. Another thought will come. Notice it. Let it pass. Return to the breath. You are not trying to have no thoughts. You are practicing the art of not being swept away by them. You are learning to rest as the sky. Some thoughts will be quiet, some will be loud, some will feel urgent, as if they need your immediate attention. Let them be as they are. They will move on their own if you do not feed them with attention. When you follow a thought, you become a cloud. When you return to the breath, you remember you are the sky. This is not easy at first. The habit of following thoughts is strong. You will forget. You will get lost in the story. You will suddenly realize you have been planning your entire day instead of breathing. That moment of realizing is not failure. That is mindfulness returning. That is the sky recognizing itself again. Each time you notice you have wandered, you have a choice. You can judge yourself, or you can simply begin again. The breath is always here. It does not hold grudges. It does not keep score. 3 minutes, thoughts arising, thoughts passing. You, steady and open beneath them. Over time, something shifts. You begin to feel the difference between awareness and what appears in awareness. You see that thoughts are not you. They are weather patterns moving through. This does not mean thoughts stop mattering. It means you are no longer trapped inside them. You can see them clearly. You can choose which ones to engage and which ones to let drift past. The restless mind begins to settle not because you forced it, but because you stopped fighting it. You gave it space to be as it is. And in that space, you found something that was never restless at all. The sky does not become calm. It is calm. It has always been calm, even when storms pass through. You are learning to recognize what you have always been. The mind moves constantly. It follows a sound, a memory, a plan for tomorrow. It reaches for what feels pleasant and pulls away from what doesn't. Without something to hold it, it drifts from thought to thought like debris on a current. This is not a flaw. This is simply what minds do. You may have noticed this yourself. You sit down intending to be still, and within moments you're somewhere else entirely. A conversation from yesterday. A worry about next week. The itch on your ankle. The noise outside. The question of whether you're doing this right. The mind moves, and you move with it, often without realizing you've gone anywhere at all. In the early teachings, there's a simple instruction offered again and again. Return to the breath. Not once, not as a final achievement, but again and again each time you notice you've drifted. This is the training. Not to stop the mind from moving, but to give it a place to return to. Think of a boat tied to a post in a moving river. The current flows. The boat pulls and shifts with the water's motion. But the line holds it. It doesn't fight the river. It doesn't try to make the water stop. It simply stays tethered to one steady point. The breath is like that post. The mind is like that boat. The current will always move. But you have a line. The breath is already here. You don't have to create it or improve it or make it special. It's been with you since the beginning and will be with you until the end. It asks nothing of you. It doesn't judge whether you're calm or anxious, focused or scattered. It simply continues, quiet and reliable, in the background of everything else. When you bring your attention to it, you're not adding something new. You're noticing what was already happening. The rise and fall. The coolness at the nostrils or the warmth at the upper lip. The gentle expansion in the chest or belly. Somewhere in your body, the breath is clearest. That's where you can rest your attention. You might try this now or later when you're ready. Feel 3 full breaths. Just 3. Notice where the sensation is most obvious to you. It might be the tip of your nose. It might be your chest lifting. It might be your belly softening. There's no right answer. Just notice where you feel it most clearly. On the first breath, simply feel it. Let your attention settle there. You don't have to control the breath or make it deeper or slower. Just feel what's already happening. On the second breath, notice the quality of the sensation. Is it cool or warm? Smooth or textured? Does it move quickly or slowly? You're not analyzing, you're just sensing. On the third breath, see if you can stay with the whole cycle. The beginning, the middle, the end. The small pause before the next one begins. If your mind wanders before you finish, that's fine. That's the current moving. You simply notice you've drifted, and you return. The line holds. You come back to the post. This is not about perfection, it's about repetition. Each time you return, you're strengthening something. Not willpower, not control, just the simple capacity to notice when you've gone and to come back. The breath doesn't move, it waits, it's always here. Over time, this becomes familiar. The breath becomes a place you know. A reference point in the middle of everything that shifts and changes. Your thoughts still move. Your feelings still rise and fall. But you have somewhere to return to. The restlessness doesn't disappear, but it no longer pulls you in every direction without pause. The boat still feels the current, but it's held. Restlessness feels like something is wrong. It moves through the body like static, a hum beneath the skin. The mind flickers from thought to thought. You shift in your seat. You check the time. You reach for your phone, then put it down, then reach again. We treat restlessness as a problem to fix, something to push away or distract ourselves from. But restlessness is not the enemy. It is a messenger that has not yet been heard. The Buddha taught that every arising has a cause. To see the cause is to loosen its grip. This is not philosophy, it is direct observation. Restlessness does not appear from nowhere. It arises because something beneath it is reaching, wanting, pulling. Think of a child tugging at your sleeve. The child cannot name what it needs, it only knows the pull, the urgency, the ache. It tugs harder when ignored. It grows louder when dismissed. But when you turn toward the child with attention, the tugging often softens, not because the need has vanished, but because it has been seen. Restlessness is like this. It tugs, it pulls. It will not settle until it is met. Beneath restlessness is craving, not always the obvious kind, not always hunger or desire for something specific. Sometimes it is the craving for things to be different than they are. The craving for this moment to end. The craving for clarity when there is confusion. the craving for stillness when there is noise. Craving does not announce itself clearly. It hides in the background, moving your attention from here to there, from now to later. It whispers that something is missing, that you should be somewhere else, doing something else, feeling something else. When you notice restlessness, pause. Do not try to calm it. Do not force yourself to sit still. Just pause and ask quietly, what is this reaching for? You might not get an answer right away. That is fine. The question itself is the practice. It turns attention toward the restlessness instead of away from it. It meets the child at the sleeve. Sometimes you will notice the craving is small, a wish for the meditation to be over, a hope that the next breath will feel better than this one, a subtle leaning away from discomfort. Sometimes the craving is larger, a longing for certainty, a need to feel safe, a pull toward distraction because sitting with yourself feels too raw. You do not need to solve it, you only need to see it, to name it softly in the mind. This is wanting, this is reaching, this is craving for something to be different. When restlessness is seen as craving, something shifts. The restlessness does not always disappear, but it loses some of its urgency. It becomes information instead of interruption, a signal instead of a problem. The child is still tugging, but now you have turned toward it. You are listening. And in that listening, the grip loosens. This is not about becoming calm. It is about becoming curious. Restlessness is no longer the thing that ruins your practice. It becomes part of the practice. A place where craving reveals itself, where the mind shows you what it is clinging to. You begin to notice patterns. Restlessness arrives when you are avoiding something, when you are hoping for a particular experience, when you are measuring this moment against an imagined better one. Each time you pause and ask what the restlessness is reaching for, you are practicing insight. You are seeing the cause. And in seeing the cause, the grip loosens. Not all at once, not forever, but enough that restlessness becomes workable. It is no longer a wall, it is a doorway. And on the other side is simply this: the mind wanting something and you able to see it clearly. You might notice it first in the jaw, a slight tightness you didn't ask for. Or maybe it's the shoulders drawn up toward the ears without permission. The body has been speaking all along, but the mind was somewhere else, planning tomorrow, replaying yesterday, building arguments with people who aren't in the room. We spend so much time inside our thoughts that we forget we have a body at all, until it aches, until it forces us to pay attention through pain or exhaustion or the sudden clench of the stomach before a difficult conversation. There's an old teaching from the Theravada tradition that says the body is the first teacher. It shows what the mind hides. This isn't poetry, it's observation. The body doesn't lie. It doesn't pretend everything is fine when it isn't. It doesn't wait for the right moment to tell the truth. Think of a fist tightening, not the decision to make a fist, not the thought of anger, just the fingers curling inward, the knuckles going white. This happens before the mind catches up, before you name the feeling as anger or frustration or hurt. The body already knows. It's already responding. The mind can be very convincing. It tells stories about why you're fine, why this doesn't bother you, why you're above it all. But the body keeps the record, the shallow breath, the tight chest, the clenched teeth during a smile. Mindfulness begins here, not in transcendent states or perfect stillness. It begins with noticing the fist before it fully closes, with feeling the jaw tighten before the argument starts, with sensing the breath go shallow when the email arrives. This noticing doesn't require fixing. That's important. You don't have to relax the shoulders or slow the breath or unclench the jaw. Not yet. First, you just notice. You bring awareness to what's already happening. The restless mind stabilizes when it has something real to land on. Thoughts spin because they have nothing solid to touch. They loop and tangle and chase themselves. But the body is here, The body is now. The sensations in your hands, your feet, your belly, these are happening in this moment, not in the story about the moment. When you scan the body, you're not looking for problems to solve, you're just checking in. Like walking through a house you know well, noticing what's different. A door left open, a light still on, tension in the lower back, warmth in the palms, coolness at the tip of the nose. The practice is simple. Once today, take a few minutes to scan your body. Start at the top of the head or the soles of the feet, it doesn't matter. Move your attention slowly through each part. Notice where tension lives. Notice where there's softness. Notice where you feel nothing at all, just numbness or absence. You might find tightness in places you didn't expect. The muscles around the eyes, the space between the shoulder blades, the belly holding itself in. You might find that the restlessness you thought was mental has a physical home, that the anxiety you've been trying to think your way out of is actually living in your chest, your throat, your hands. This is not a failure. This is information. The body is showing you what the mind has been avoiding. And in that showing, something shifts. The restlessness doesn't disappear, but it has a place to be. It's no longer just a swirl of thoughts, it's a sensation, a tightness, a temperature, a pulse. When the mind meets the body this way, without trying to change anything, it begins to settle. Not because you've solved the problem, not because you've forced yourself to calm down, but because you've given your awareness something real to rest on. The fist that was tightening, you feel it now. You notice the fingers curling, you sense the tension in the palm. And in that noticing, before any decision is made, there's a small gap. A moment where you're not lost in the reaction. You're present with what's happening in the body. You sit down to practice, and the mind is already moving. Before you've taken a single breath, there's a list forming. Things undone, things half remembered. The body hasn't settled, and already you're wondering if this will work, if 10 minutes is enough, if you should have started earlier or chosen a better time. We carry a belief that stillness requires preparation, a clear schedule, a quiet room, the right cushion, enough time to let the mind slow down and finally arrive. And because these conditions rarely align, we wait, we postpone. We tell ourselves that real practice happens later, when life is less demanding. But the mind doesn't become still by waiting for perfect conditions. It steadies by meeting what is here. There's a teaching from Zen that says one breath fully received is a lifetime of practice. Not 1,000 breaths, not an hour of silence. One breath, felt completely, allowed to arrive and depart without interference. At first this sounds too small. How could one breath matter when the mind is this restless? But the teaching isn't about duration, it's about wholeness. One breath received fully is not partial attention stretched thin, it's complete presence, even if brief. Think of the pause between two waves. The water rises, crests and falls, and then, for a moment, the surface is smooth. It doesn't last. Another wave is already forming. But that pause is real. It's not incomplete because it's short, it's whole in itself. The mind moves like water, thoughts rise and fall, emotions swell and recede. We think stillness means stopping the waves entirely, holding the ocean flat and motionless. So we try to force it. We clench around the breath, we push thoughts away, we wait for the moment when everything finally stops. But stillness isn't the absence of movement. It's the space between movements, the gap where nothing is being added. You don't need an hour to find that gap. You don't need a retreat or a teacher or a method you've perfected. You need only to notice a transition, the moment between inhale and exhale, the step between standing and walking, the pause before you open a door or pick up your phone. These moments are already here. You pass through them all day without noticing. They're brief, but they're not incomplete. They're openings, small pockets of stillness woven into the fabric of ordinary life. When you meet one of these transitions and rest there, even for a second, the mind touches something it doesn't usually touch. Not blankness, not emptiness in the sense of absence, just a momentary release from the need to move toward the next thing. The breath finishes. Before the next one begins, there's a pause. You don't make it happen. It's already there. You simply notice it. You let yourself rest in that gap without rushing forward. And then the next breath comes. The moment passes. But something has shifted. You've tasted stillness not as a distant goal, but as something close, something woven into the rhythm of breathing itself. This is how mindfulness stabilizes the restless mind. Not by overpowering it, not by waiting for perfect conditions, but by finding the small pauses that are already present and learning to rest there. One transition today, between tasks, between breaths, between steps, just one. You don't need to hold it or extend it or make it into something more. You simply notice it. You let yourself arrive fully, even if only for a moment. That's enough. One breath fully received is a lifetime of practice. One pause, met completely, is the whole path. The waves will keep moving. The mind will keep thinking. But you'll know that stillness isn't somewhere else. It's here, in the gaps, in the transitions. In the brief, complete pause between one wave and the next. You sit down to meditate, and the mind is already moving. A thought about tomorrow, a memory from this morning, a tightness in the chest, a plan forming. Another thought arriving before the first one finishes. You might try to calm it. You might tell yourself to focus. But the restlessness continues, and now there is frustration on top of restlessness. The mind that was supposed to settle has only become more crowded. This is a common place to arrive. We sit down hoping for stillness, and instead we meet motion. We wanted peace, and we found noise. The difficulty is not the movement itself. The difficulty is what we do with it. We treat restlessness as a problem to be solved. We treat calm as a state to be captured and kept. We hold the idea that if we could just get the mind to settle, it would stay that way. But the mind does not work like that. The Buddha said that all conditioned things are impermanent. This is not philosophy. This is observation. Whatever arises, passes. Whatever forms, dissolves. This includes restlessness. This includes calm. When you see this directly, something shifts. Not because you have fixed the mind, but because you have stopped asking it to be other than it is. Think of water. In winter, it becomes ice, solid, still, holding a shape. In spring, it melts and flows. In summer heat, it rises as vapor, invisible, dispersed. The water does not choose. It does not cling to being ice. It does not resist becoming steam. It changes according to conditions. Your mind is like this, restless in one moment, quiet in another, sharp, then dull, anxious, then easy. These are not failures or achievements, they are weather. When you sit and notice restlessness, you are noticing a condition. It arose because certain causes were present. Fatigue, perhaps. A conversation earlier in the day. Caffeine. Uncertainty about something unresolved. The restlessness is not you. It is a pattern moving through. And because it arose from conditions, it will change when conditions change. You do not need to force it. You do not need to shame yourself for it. You only need to see it clearly. Restlessness is here. It is temporary. This seeing is the practice. Right now, bring to mind one feeling or thought that changed on its own today. Maybe you woke up tired, and by mid-morning, the tiredness had lifted. Maybe you felt irritation at something small, and an hour later, you had forgotten it entirely. Maybe there was a moment of sadness that softened without you doing anything. You did not decide for it to change. You did not will it away. It changed because that is what conditioned things do. Restlessness is the same. It arrives, it moves, it fades. Not because you are good at meditating, not because you have mastered your mind, but because impermanence is the nature of all experience. When you see this, the restlessness loses some of its weight. It is still there, but you are not fighting it. You are not clinging to the hope that it will disappear forever. You are simply watching it, the way you might watch clouds shift across the sky. And in that watching, something quieter appears. Not the absence of restlessness, but the space around it, the awareness that holds it without being disturbed by it. This is what stabilizes the mind, not control, not perfection, but the clear seeing that all states are passing. Even restlessness, even this moment of watching restlessness. You do not need to wait for calm to arrive before you can rest. You can rest now, in the middle of motion, because you see that the motion is not permanent. Restlessness, too, is temporary. You sit down to meditate, and within moments the mind is moving. A worry from earlier, a plan for tomorrow, a sound outside. The breath for a second, then gone again. It feels crowded in there, restless. You might think the problem is the thoughts themselves, that if you could just clear them out, there would finally be peace. But what if the problem is not the thoughts? What if it's that you're watching only them and missing everything else? There's a teaching from the Mahayana tradition that says the nature of mind is like space. Thoughts are like birds passing through. The birds come and go, they cross the sky, but the sky does not follow them. It does not become a bird. It remains open, unchanged, holding everything without effort. You can test this right now, not as philosophy, as direct experience. Imagine a vast room, empty, silent, with high ceilings and bare walls. Then a single sound, a bell or a voice or a door closing. The sound moves through the room. It echoes, it fills the space for a moment. And then it fades. What remains? The room. Still there, still open. The sound did not damage it. The sound did not make it smaller. The silence was there before, and it is there after. The room held the sound without being changed by it. Your mind is like this. The restlessness you feel is real. The thoughts are real, but they are not the whole picture. They are the bird, not the sky. They are the sound, not the room. When you focus only on what moves, you forget the stillness that holds it. This is not about stopping thoughts. It's about recognizing what they move through. You can practice this with sound. It's simple. It requires nothing but attention. Sit somewhere quiet or quiet enough. Let your eyes close if that feels natural. Take a breath. Let it settle. Now wait for a sound. Any sound. A car passing. A clock ticking. A voice in another room. The hum of a refrigerator. It doesn't matter what it is. When the sound comes, listen to it. Not to judge it. Not to name it. Just listen. Follow it as it rises. Stay with it as it continues. And when it begins to fade, stay with it still. Listen all the way to the end. Then notice what's left. The silence. Not the absence of sound exactly, but the space the sound moved through, the awareness that was there before the sound, during the sound, and after the sound. It did not come and go. It did not flicker. It was constant. You might notice that the silence feels large, spacious. It does not push anything away. It does not cling to what has passed. It simply is. This is the nature of awareness. It holds everything without becoming anything. Thoughts arise in it, feelings arise in it, sounds, sensations, images. They come, they stay for a while, they dissolve, and awareness remains. When you see this even once, something shifts. The restlessness does not feel so overwhelming. Because you are not only the bird anymore, you are also the sky. You are not only the sound, you are also the room. Equanimity is not indifference. It is not flatness. It is this, the capacity to hold what arises without being pulled into it, without being defined by it, to let the bird fly through, to let the sound echo and fade, to remain open. You do not have to do this perfectly. You do not have to hold the silence for long. Just once is enough. Just a glimpse. Listen to a sound until it ends, then rest in what remains. The mind will move again. Another thought will come. That's fine, that's what minds do. But now you know something you didn't know before. The space is always here. Something small goes wrong. The coffee is too bitter. The notification arrives at the wrong moment. Someone speaks just a little too loudly in the next room. And suddenly there is a tightness in the chest, a heat rising, a sharpness in the mind that wants to push the moment away. It happens so quickly. The world does not match what you wanted, and the body contracts. This is aversion. Not anger necessarily, not rage, just the simple reflex of no, not this, not now, make it different. And beneath that reflex is something even quieter, a preference held so tightly that any deviation feels like a small emergency. The coffee should taste a certain way, the room should be quiet, the day should unfold according to an invisible script you did not know you were writing. In the early teachings there is a simple observation. Clinging and aversion are two sides of the same suffering. When you grasp at what you want, you also push away what you do not want. The hand that reaches is the same hand that shoves. Both movements create tension. Both create the feeling that this moment is not enough, that something must be fixed before you can rest. Imagine a hand clenched around sand. The tighter the grip, the more the sand slips through the fingers. The effort to hold becomes the very thing that causes loss. And still the hand squeezes harder, believing that more force will solve the problem. This is what the mind does with experience. It closes around preferences. It tries to hold the pleasant and squeeze out the unpleasant. And in that closing, it loses contact with what is actually here. You can feel this in the body. When something bothers you, there is a subtle bracing. The shoulders might lift. The jaw might set. The breath becomes shallow. The whole system organizes itself around resistance. And here is where mindfulness begins to stabilize the restless mind. Not by fixing the coffee or silencing the room. Not by getting what you want, but by noticing the tightness itself. When something small bothers you today, pause. You do not need to change your reaction. You do not need to be calm or accepting or wise. Just notice the tightness. Where is it in the body? Is it in the throat, the chest, the belly? Can you feel the clench? And then just one breath. Not to relax, not to let go, just to soften the edges of the grip by 1 degree. Breathe in, breathe out. Let the exhale be a little longer, a little slower. You are not trying to like the bitter coffee. You are not trying to welcome the interruption. You are simply noticing that there is a difference between having a preference and holding it so tightly that the whole body becomes a fist. Preference is natural. You like some things more than others. This is not a problem. But when preference becomes rigidity, when the mind insists that reality must conform or else, then suffering arises. The moment becomes an opponent. The day becomes a battle. One breath does not erase aversion, but it creates a small gap. In that gap you might notice that the tightness is optional. The coffee is bitter, yes, and the body does not have to clench. The room is loud, yes, and the breath can still move. This is not about becoming passive. It is not about accepting everything without discernment. It is about recognizing the difference between responding to life and being at war with it. The hand can open, the sand can rest in the palm. What you wanted to hold does not disappear. It simply stops slipping away. When you feel the difference between preference and rigidity, something shifts. The mind is still restless, perhaps, but it is no longer fighting itself. And in that small opening, there is steadiness. The mind moves quickly. One thought arrives, then another. A memory surfaces, a plan forms, a worry tightens in the chest, and somewhere beneath all of this there is often a feeling that you should be doing something about it. That you should gather these thoughts, organize them, make them settle down. That there is a you who is supposed to be in charge. This feeling is so familiar it goes unnoticed. The assumption that someone inside must be steering. That awareness belongs to a fixed self, who watches, who decides, who controls or fails to control what arises. But when you sit quietly and look closely at what is actually happening, something different appears. There is seeing, but no fixed seer. There is thinking, but no solid thinker standing apart from the thoughts. There is awareness, yes, but it does not belong to anyone. It simply is. This is not a philosophical idea. It is something you can observe directly in this moment if you let the question settle into the body. Imagine a river flowing through a landscape. The water moves over stones, around bends, through narrow passages and wide plains. It responds to the shape of the land, to gravity, to the season. And there is no captain on the river, no one steering from the bow. The river flows because that is what rivers do. Your awareness is like this. Thoughts arise because conditions are present. A sound enters the ear and hearing happens. A sensation appears in the body and feeling happens. A memory surfaces and the mind recognizes it. None of this requires a controller. It unfolds on its own, moment by moment, without anyone pulling the strings. And yet the habit is strong. The habit of believing that you are the one who must manage it all. That if the mind is restless, you have failed. That if attention wanders, something is wrong with you. This belief creates a second layer of struggle, not just the restlessness itself, but the tension of trying to fix it, the tightening around the experience, the quiet shame when the mind will not obey. But what if there is no one who needs to obey? What if the restlessness is just weather passing through? What if awareness itself is already steady, even when thoughts are not? You can test this gently. Sit for a moment and ask, without urgency, who is aware right now? Not as a riddle to solve, not as a question that demands an answer. Just let the question rest in the space of your attention. Who is aware? Notice what happens when you ask. The mind may offer an answer. I am, me, this body. Let those answers come and let them pass. Do not argue with them. Do not push them away. Just notice that they are thoughts too. More movement in the river. Ask again, softer this time. Who is aware right now? And rest in the question. Let it open a small gap, a pause, a moment where the usual story does not fill the space. In that pause, there is still awareness. There is still seeing, hearing, sensing. But the one who claims it may become less solid, less necessary. This is not about erasing yourself. It is about noticing what is actually here when you stop insisting on a fixed center. When you stop trying to be the captain of a river that has always flowed on its own. The restless mind does not need to be controlled. It needs to be seen clearly. And when you see it without the story of a self who must manage it, something softens. The struggle loosens. The thoughts still come and go, but they no longer feel like evidence of failure. They are just thoughts, arising and passing, like water moving over stones. And you, or what you have called you, are not separate from this flow. You are the awareness in which it all appears. Not a thing, not a fixed point, just the open space where seeing happens, where hearing happens, where life unfolds without needing permission. Sit quietly now and ask once more. Who is aware right now? Do not answer. Just rest in the question. Let it be enough to notice that awareness is here, steady and clear, without anyone holding it in place. You sit down to be still, and the mind does something else. It scatters, it loops, it reaches for what isn't here and pushes away what is. You notice this, and then something tightens. A voice inside says you're doing it wrong, that you should be calmer by now, that other people must find this easier. This harshness arrives so quickly you might not even see it, but you feel it, a kind of inner flinching, a disappointment that lands in the chest or the jaw. And the restlessness doesn't calm under this treatment, it deepens. There is a teaching in the Mahayana tradition that says compassion begins with the one who suffers closest to you. That person is yourself, not as an idea, not as a project of self-improvement, but as the living being who is here, now, feeling what you feel. When the mind is restless, it is not broken, it is not failing. It is simply doing what minds do when they meet uncertainty, fatigue, or overstimulation. The restlessness is not the problem is how we meet it. Imagine a small child waking in the dark, frightened. The child calls out. Now imagine two responses. In one, a parent enters the room and says, "Stop this, you should be asleep. There's nothing to be afraid of. What's wrong with you?" The child does not calm. The fear doubles. It now includes the fear of being wrong for feeling afraid. In the other response, the parent enters quietly, sits on the edge of the bed, places a hand on the child's back, breathes slowly, says nothing or says very little. "I'm here. You're safe." The child's breath begins to match the parent's. The body softens. The fear does not vanish, but it is held. Your restless mind is that child, and you are also the parent in the room. When you sit and the mind will not settle, you can meet that movement the way you would meet a frightened child, not with frustration, not with the demand that it be different, but with presence, with breath, with the simplest form of kindness. This is not about fixing the restlessness. It is about changing the atmosphere in which it occurs. The next time you notice frustration rising toward your own mind, try this. Place one hand on your heart. Feel the warmth of your palm through your shirt. Feel the rise and fall of your chest beneath it. Breathe in, breathe out. Let the breath be slow, but not forced. Let the hand rest there as if you were steadying someone you care for. You are not trying to make the restlessness go away. You are acknowledging that it is hard to feel this way, that it is okay to feel this way, that you do not have to be calm to be worthy of kindness. The hand on the heart is a gesture, a signal to the nervous system that you are not in danger, that you are not alone. The breath is an anchor. It does not stop the waves of thought, but it gives you something steady to return to, and in that return, something shifts. Not always dramatically, not always right away, but over time the mind begins to trust that it will not be punished for its nature. The restlessness still comes, but it is no longer amplified by self-judgment. It moves through more easily. Like weather, mindfulness does not stabilize the mind by force. It stabilizes the mind by removing the second layer of suffering we add when we resist what is already here. The restlessness itself is just energy, just movement. It is our fight with it that makes it unbearable. When you place your hand on your heart and breathe, you are practicing the most fundamental form of meditation. You are learning to be with yourself the way a good parent is with a child. Steady, warm, present, not demanding that the experience be other than it is. This is where stability begins, not in a mind that never moves, but in a heart that knows how to hold what moves. You sit down to practice, and the mind scatters almost immediately. A thought about tomorrow, a memory from last week, an itch on your ankle. You bring your attention back to the breath, and within seconds it has wandered again. This happens so many times that you begin to wonder if something is wrong with you. You may feel like you are failing at something that should be simple. There is a teaching in Zen that meets this feeling directly. Practice is not about arrival. It is the returning itself, not the moment when the mind finally stays put, not the breakthrough where everything becomes still. the returning. That small movement of noticing you have drifted and coming back. That is the practice. Think of a path you walk every day. Maybe it is the route from your front door to the corner. Maybe it is the hallway from your bedroom to the kitchen. You know this path. Your feet have touched it hundreds of times, and yet you do not walk it once and consider it finished. You walk it again tomorrow, and the day after that. The path does not change because you have walked it before. Your walking does not become unnecessary because you know the way. The familiarity is not a problem. It is the ground itself. Mindfulness works this way. You place your attention on the breath. The breath is there, rising and falling in the body. Then the attention wanders. It always wanders. This is not a flaw in your practice. This is the nature of attention. It moves. What happens next is where the practice lives. You notice. Maybe after 5 seconds, maybe after 5 minutes. You notice that you are thinking about dinner or replaying a conversation or planning something that has not happened yet. And in that noticing, something shifts. You return. You bring your attention back to the breath. This returning is not a correction. It is not proof that you did something wrong. It is simply what you do. The mind wanders. You notice. You return. This sequence is the practice. Each time you return, you are walking the path again. Not because you forgot the way, not because you failed to arrive, because this is what the path is for. The restless mind does not need to be fixed, it needs to be met. When you return to the breath without scolding yourself, you are meeting the mind as it is. Restless, yes. Distracted, yes. And also capable of noticing. Also capable of returning. Stability does not mean the mind stops moving. Stability means you know how to come back. You can try this now, or later, or whenever you sit. Place your attention on the feeling of breathing. Not controlling the breath, just noticing it. The coolness of the nostrils, the rise of the chest, the small pause between breaths. When you notice your attention has wandered, do not add anything extra. Do not judge. Do not sigh, just return. Feel the breath again. That is all. If this happens 10 times in 2 minutes, you have practiced 10 times. If it happens 50 times, you have practiced 50 times. The number does not matter. The returning matters. There is no finish line where the mind stays perfectly still and you graduate from practice. The path is always here. The returning is always available. This is not a limitation. This is the teaching. You do not walk the hallway once and never walk it again. You do not learn the route and then avoid it. You walk it because it takes you where you need to go. And tomorrow, you walk it again. Mindfulness stabilizes the restless mind, not by making it stop, but by giving you a way to return. Again and again, without drama, without failure. Just the quiet knowledge that you can always come back. The stability is in the returning. The restless mind does not disappear. Even after long practice, thoughts still arrive, sensations still shift, the body still tightens and releases. What changes is the relationship. You begin to meet the movement with less resistance. You see the waves, and you no longer believe you must stop the ocean. This is not a permanent achievement, it is a returning. Each time you notice the mind has wandered, each time you feel the breath again, each time you soften around discomfort instead of bracing against it, you are practicing stabilization. Not once and for all, again and again. Impermanence is not only the dissolving of what you love, it is also the passing of what disturbs you. The anxious thought that felt so solid a moment ago has already changed. The tightness in your chest is not a fixed thing. It moves, it softens, it returns in a different form. When you stop demanding that experience hold still, you find a kind of tenderness in the flux. You are not standing on bedrock, you are learning to move with the current. Mindfulness does not make you invulnerable. It does not erase grief or prevent loss. It does not solve the difficulties of being human. What it offers is simpler. It lets you be present for your life as it actually is, not the life you imagine you should have, not the mind you think you should possess. This one, here, breathing, aware. You may have noticed in moments of clear attention a quiet that is not the absence of sound, a stillness that is not the absence of movement. This is the ground of awareness itself. It does not come and go the way thoughts do. It is always here, beneath the restlessness, waiting for nothing, requiring nothing. You do not create it, you remember it. And when you forget, as you will, you simply return. This is the practice, not perfection, not mastery. Returning. The breath is always available, the body is always here, sensations continue to arise and pass. You do not need to be anywhere else or anyone else to begin again. There is no final arrival. The restless mind is part of the human inheritance. What you are learning is not how to transcend it, but how to meet it without fear. How to see it clearly, how to let it move through you without becoming tangled in its momentum. This is enough. As you continue, you may find that the practice becomes less effortful, not because the mind stops wandering, but because you stop fighting the wandering. You notice, you return. The gap between noticing and returning grows shorter. The quality of your attention grows lighter. You are not gripping so tightly. You are not demanding so much. You are simply here, aware, breathing. This is what stabilization feels like. Not a locked-down stillness, but a flexible presence. Not control, but responsiveness. Not the end of difficulty, but the capacity to remain steady within it. If you wish, you may continue listening. There are other threads to follow, other aspects of this practice to explore, but there is no urgency. The breath will still be here tomorrow. Awareness will still be available. You do not need to consume everything at once. You do not need to master anything tonight. What matters is the willingness to return, to sit again, to notice again, to meet whatever arises with a little more space, a little more gentleness. This is how the mind stabilizes, not through force, but through patient, repeated attention. So rest here if you like. Let the words settle. Let the breath move as it moves. Let the mind be as it is. You have done enough. You are enough. The practice continues quietly in its own time. Thank you for listening. May you be at ease.